This is Brian, Cabin Fever Solutions here in the Pacific Northwest. And unlike a lot of recycling where folks will mention their dumpster driving for cardboard or hitting up grocery stores and package stores for liquor boxes, we go about getting our packing pretty much the same way we do our inventory. Hey, Rosie's home. And she brought stuff in the toaster. That's what we call her little Kia Soul. She was up a couple towns over, had lunch with one of her friends. They went on a hike in the woods. And while she was up in that town, she stopped by where we pick up some of our free shipping supplies. She's got a couple of friends, and one of them gives her boxes, and one of them gives her the crumple paper and the bubble bags and foam. And here you can see some of the boxes come packed flat, and some of the boxes come like this. I love these boxes. This is probably, for its size, these are some of the best boxes out there. They come flat, they get folded up. I like to ship things like action figures and Barbie dolls. I'll ship things that are breakable, like vases. Yeah, they're really great. They're thick. Here you can see they're thick. They double up some of the box. The ends get doubled in as they're assembled. I can resize them. I can even flip them inside out if I want to turn this into a brown. But instead of bothering to turn it into a brown, I just normally use some of the eBay colored tape as I'm sealing it up, and I go over the old barcodes and the old labels and send them out that way. I've been doing it for years and years, and nobody's ever said anything about it. So here you can see she brought me a box of those. There's some copy paper boxes up there. Boise X9 is, we call all the copy paper boxes X9s because this was the brand we got for years. And this is coming from a commercial receiving operation, and they would simply be recycling and discarding this. So instead we put them together. And in addition to the boxes that we augment, here you can see it here. This one will fold up into a nice over length. Again, they're good for shoes, they're good for Barbies, they're good for the box sizes I don't keep around. Quality, constructed. If I'm shipping something UPS or I'm running an auction and I'm shipping out larger boxes, FedEx or UPS, this is the type of box I'll use. A little bit of work with a heat gun. I'll take off the original labels, and here you can see more. She's filled up the whole back of the Kia, and I'll put these to work immediately. When I go out and do a pickup at an estate sale or an estate auction, and I buy the contents of a bookshelf or something like that, this is often what I'll pack it right out in. I'll do my initial sort, take a half a dozen of these with me, and I'll put the Westerns in one and the sci-fi in one and the miscellaneous in another. And that way, if we don't get to park the car or the truck very close, they'll stack on the hand truck. I can run them out 3 or 4 at a time, load them in the truck, and then because they come with the box lids on them, I can put them on the agate property shelves until I'm ready to turn my attention to those. They'll go in the queue, and I'll pull out the books that I want to sell first, and I'll take these empties and I'll give them one of my identification numbers for my bin inventory system. And books and heavy tools are what I like to pack, because if you get a pile of books much bigger than a copy paper box, it gets a little harder to pick them up and shelf them or to carry them around. Because they have straight square sides, I especially like them for books because the books stack in there and don't slide around. You load books into a Rubbermaid tote. For one thing, you're picking up the quantity of about 2 copy paper boxes, and the other is that almost all the totes have tapered sides, so they've got room to move around in there, and it roughs up the dust jackets, it roughs up the books. And then when I package up things like loose sockets into Ziplocs, and I sell a lot of sockets, and by a lot I don't mean a tremendous quantity, I mean a group. A lot is what we call them in an auction. And I'll take those and I'll put them in a Ziploc, and by the time you've loaded 10 Ziplocs of sockets and a few ratchets, You may only be a third full in this box, but you notice the weight as you're picking them up and carrying them around. They're also a nice handy way to store boxed small industrial and commercial repair parts because you don't have to dig very far down. You put that small stuff in a Rubbermaid tote and you're spending time emptying half the tote to get to the item. Or my idea has always been that the smaller the items, the smaller the container to organize them. When I'm selling things like casino chips and challenge coins, I put them in envelopes and stand the envelopes up in a box about this size. I can put 40 lots of coins or challenge coins or small pieces of jewelry in this box. And what I do is just trim the lid right there, and I put the label on the end over their label, and I stand the envelopes up like this, and I can put 40 envelopes. You remember envelopes, they were the things we mailed letters in. So I turn them upright, seal them up on the long side, clip the short sides off, and I write on the top flap what they are, what's in them. And then I can just simply file through them while searching for the item. Where if you took those same 40 lots of challenge coins or small pieces of jewelry and you dumped them down in a Rubbermaid tote, they'd all sink to the bottom, and the next thing you know, you'd be spending 20, 30 minutes finding the item you want. So for me, it's always been a question of using different storage methods and different inventory control for the different types of items. If you're a specific niche seller, all you sell are books, then figure out a way to store your books. If you're selling clothing, figuring out a way to store your clothing. If you sell a little bit of everything, then use whichever items are best for that particular item. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get these empty boxes down into the white eBay garage because that's where I pack and ship. Some of them will end up in the loft. When we first moved out here, the walls on that building are tall enough that we went ahead and built a loft into the eave area, and I can store an awful lot of this type of packing material up out of the way, and I keep a little bit down, and when I run out of what I call my daily use, I turn around and bring down some more. All right, so I've emptied the Kia onto this table so you can kind of see what she brought me home. And here's a stack of flat boxes. Here's another one here. And you can see that some of them get a little dirty in transit like this. And what I do is I don't reuse a box like this to ship an eBay order. But I will use a nice clean box like this one. That works out well. This one falls into the example of something I probably wouldn't use, but I would use it to send an auction lot to a local auction to help keep it organized. Or I'd cut it up and use the clean parts of it to wrap around a CD or a DVD, but it all gets reused, keeps it out of the recycling and the landfill. And every one of these, a small box like this, saves me about 50 cents. A little box like this. Bigger boxes like this one save me $1 or $2 every time I reuse one. And that's one of the ways we're able to keep our shipping charges to our buyers down and keep ourselves organized. Now this is part of the white pole barn that's given over to storing the shipping supplies. Here you can see I've got larger boxes, and in here I've got some bigger boxes that are holding brown crumple paper. Here are some of the boxes I just brought down from the car. Here's my peanut hopper. And you can see I've got a couple different styles in there. I don't pay for this either. It comes with the general packing supplies. Luckily, the place we picked this up doesn't get a lot of peanuts, or I'd have to turn them down because we don't use peanuts very often. Normally only if I'm packing something very delicate, like a $80, $100 statue figurine with fingers that could be broken off. I'll pack her either by putting a bag in the box, putting a little bubble down, put the figurine in, and then go around her with the peanuts. Now peanuts come in a couple of styles. Here you can see them. This one dissolves in water. I think it's made from some kind of a wheat paste. This is your poly type, which is more common. But if we were to take a look at this, These are very different peanuts. The one on the left will dissolve in water. The one on the right won't. So even though the ones on the left are considered more biodegradable, they have a problem if your package is left out on somebody's porch in the rain. Once the moisture gets through the box and into the peanuts, the ones on the left will start to melt and they no longer provide any protection and they make a mess. And up here on the opposite side, you'll see where I keep larger boxes and bags of crumple paper and that type of thing. And this is the low part of the loft, and it gets taller from here. But you can see some of those larger boxes up, and we just simply keep the overhead full of extra packing supplies when they come in, because they come in sporadically when we're called or when we're up in that town and we swing by and pick them up. Now this is the other bay of the pole barn garage. You can see the floor and all the material that made this loft when we first bought the lake property was stored up in buildings up in Seebeck at the old house, because we used to sell lumber as part of our inventory. This loft starts at about the center third and runs the full width of the garage. So even though we don't put a lot of heavy weight up, we can store a pretty fair volume up there. And that's important to know where you're going to put this stuff if you're going to bring it home to save a... Well, I don't know how much of this you'll see with the lights out. You have to be up in the loft to turn on the lighting up there. But I just sent the boxes that were out on the table up over the edge. And next time one of us goes up, we'll organize it in with the rest so we can find it. But for instance, there's a box of 100 count of flat rate postal mailers. I still use those from time to time, so we keep them around. Don't use them nearly as often since Ground Advantage came along. They're stored up here within easy reach, and I fill up a day stock, which is actually more like a couple of weeks, but an on-hand ready stock as I need it. All right, on the topic of recycling and reusing, we use air pillows occasionally. I like to put one, when I pack a hat in a box, in the bill area to keep the box from crushing. But sometimes when we get them in with that commercial shipping guy, there'll be the occasional flat one. So what we do when that happens is it's, again, hard to do one-handed, but let me separate it. And this has to do with package presentation, saving a little cost, and an alternative, because I'm all about alternatives. Now this is an item that sold overnight. I'll pull up the listing in a second in case you don't recognize that. Okay, here's the item I was referring to. It's a pair of skate keys. One is stamped roll fast, the other doesn't have a mark on it. It came in a junk drawer auction lot. I didn't even realize it was in the lot, but we've listed it and sold it for $9.79 plus shipping. So when we take a look at this, skate key, if you're as old as I am, you know what these are. When we were kids, you were given a pair of metal skates that clamped onto your shoes. They adjusted in size because kids' feet grow. And you might have to share those skates among several children who are playing at the sidewalk at the same time. Rarely were there enough skates to go around, so you actually had to adjust them. And this is on a neck lanyard, so it has less likelihood of getting lost. But that's a skate key. And they were pretty much obsolete by the time that outdoor restaurants like A&W began to get waitresses who would skate over car hop types and put your food on your tray, on your window, on your car. But when I was a kid in the early 60s, these were still common. But this is a new Ziploc style bag. I actually get these by the case when they come up at auction, so I'm not paying much for them to begin with. But if you were to look at the price of 1,000 of these on eBay, you're starting to talk about some expense. So here's that flat air pillow. I clipped the edge, you can see it here, and I could have just as easily used this as a small bag as this brand new one. It would have kept the product clean, would have presented well to the customer, would have meant I got to keep it out of the trash. And yeah, I like to reuse things like this. Of course, I also buy these cheap at auction by the case, so that means I'm already keeping my cost for packing down. So one of today's projects, at least for Rose, will be to sort a load of the free packing supplies that we get. They come in these large bags. You'll see here's some foam over here, here's some brown crumple paper, there's some peanuts mixed in, big bubble envelopes, occasionally some unusual large bubble, small bubble. Whatever the receiving department at the place that gives this to us gets in with their product, they turn around and set them aside for us, and Rose collects them when she's up in that town visiting. It's a couple towns up. And then we'll come back and Rose will set up her station. Here you can see it here. She likes to use one of the folding trestle tables, and this particular one has adjustable height legs. So she'll even slope it to make pulling the crumple paper, which is in long pieces, and she'll smooth it out on the table. Then she'll fold it up. She'll pack it in a box like this. So she'll do, 4, 5, 6 of these bags. And it's kind of the reverse order of void fill. If you smooth out the crumple paper, it then stores in a much more compact space, and we put it up in the loft till we use it. Sometimes the crumple paper comes in perforated, like here you can see it. She'll separate out the big bubble, and then on the table here she'll stack these small bubble bags. These are like small bubble, but they come in envelope pouches. And I like them because I just drop the items back in the pouches. Here you can see one here. This is an unusual size. Normally I get them in small, medium, and large, but this one would be good for, say, pocket knives or something. And then once she's done, we store it back in the garage until we use it. The bags even get recycled. You can see over here on the edge of the lake, Rose has been picking up pine cones and trimming. She likes to get the seed heads and bag them up, but she'll reuse the bags. So here are some of the bubble pockets I was talking about. These were sorted out yesterday, and I'll put them in my ready supply. But all I have to do to reuse them is tear off the original label. They're good to go. This is probably my most reached for packing item, since we're shipping a lot of smalls these days. And if it's too big, I trim it and use it on the next thing. If it's too small, I grab a bigger one. But it's pretty much taken the place of buying bubble for the last, several years. Now here's some more material that came in those bags Rose was sorting. This is the egg crate soft foam. It gives a lot, so you can wrap it around something that has an inner protective core. It's fairly pliable. It'll adapt itself around something. These we'd never gotten before. They look like Velcro holds them around whatever the object is, and we'll find a use for them. We got about 8 of those out of those bags, and of course this is a little more rigid. It's much like the foam I use. It's much like the sheet foam I get. And of course I like to use the sheet foam for protecting coins and jewelry, casino tokens, that type of thing. And it makes for a nice protective layer. But this is much thicker. Again, I'll use it sometimes if I've got a void and I want to make sure that the void is filled. And it doesn't weigh much, so it makes really good void fill when the object you're shipping is heavy. Like say you're shipping a 20-pound piece of stereo equipment and you need some fill so the unit can't hit the box. This is the type of stuff I like to use because it'll give a bit, but it won't allow too much movement. You ship a piece of 20-pound electronics with crumple paper, by the time it gets there it's going to be slopping around loose because the crumple paper lost its capacity to void fill. Well, it's getting on towards the end of the day. This afternoon's effort was spent sorting and prepping those bags of recycled packing material. And even though I call it recycled, good quality stuff. And unlike a lot of recycling where folks will mention their dumpster driving for cardboard or hitting up grocery stores and package stores for liquor boxes, we go about getting our packing pretty much the same way we do our inventory. So at the end of a long day, especially when it's warm, Rose and I like to sit out on the deck and enjoy a cool drink. It's not that getting cardboard or boxes from those places is wrong. It's just not terribly efficient. If every time you go out to source packing material, it comes in a different flavor or size, you've got to rework your packing procedures to accommodate what you found. Where when we pick up a carload of the same thing from the same guy time after time, we know what we're going to use that packing material for, how we're going to take the most advantage of it. And it's the same way we like to source. When we're going to make a trip up to Renton to get some auction pickups, we like to put a number of totes in the car and make the time spent traveling and the money spent on fuel worthwhile. Lake is good, looking pretty good there. We got our feet propped up on the deck, but I want to continue this conversation about recycled material. If you think about it, the whole concept of recycling has come a long way since Rose and I were kids and we were given our older siblings cast-off clothes to wear, or when Rose would take, when we were a young family, Rose would take my old worn-out Navy uniform dungarees, which are denim, and she'd cut them up and she'd make little coveralls for our toddler. She'd make little jeans and she'd make other things. She'd cut around the worn spots, the faded spots, and use the best of the material to repurpose it. Again, there's nothing wrong with recycled material. The trick is to try to do it efficiently and to recognize an opportunity when you see it. And that's true of reselling in general. What I'm trying to get you to do is perhaps change your mindset. Keep your head on a swivel. Recognize that opportunity when it comes along. Rose has a friend who moved back from Florida. She paid a moving company to pack all of her stuff, including books, into probably several hundred boxes. And in most of those boxes that held dishes was crumple paper. In the boxes that held mirrors and other framed art, those were collapsible mirror packs. They're adjustable in length. And just like you can go to Home Depot and spend $1, $2, $3 to buy a small or medium-sized shipping box, Rose's friend paid a moving company to bring that stuff and fill it. And they were used for one trip. Now, they weren't new because they had things like dining room and china written on them. But often when I use boxes of that size, I'm cutting them down anyway. So I just do the cutting in such a way as to remove the marking. If I can't remove all the markings, then I use some either eBay tape or brown tape, and I obscure what I don't want visible. The same way if I use a recycled box from Amazon. Amazon boxes, they're plentiful now that Amazon dominates the world. Rose has another friend who's a neighbor here, and when she gets a pile of them in the corner at her place, she calls up Rose. Rose takes the toaster over there, fills up the back, and like us, when we source from that commercial receiving facility, Amazon tends to use the same box size over and over. So if I need to Frankenbox and take two boxes and slip them one inside another, it's likely that from any carload of Amazon boxes, I'll find two that are the same. The one time I will deviate from my rule, because in this sense we all have exceptions, if I'm going to ship something like a golf club bag, I will stop by a local golf course and ask the pro shop if they've got any empty boxes around. The same is true with clubs. There's nothing better than going to a facility that receives what you in turn ship out to use boxes that are specifically made for that. It saves you a lot of time in cutting. I watched a video the other day of a gentleman who was talking about shipping golf clubs. And he was folding them on his bench from large sheets of cardboard. And he was showing you very nicely how to make a box to ship a golf club. And while he was doing it and I was watching, my next thought was, just go down to your local course and ask them for some boxes for golf clubs. Individual clubs, irons, woods, or bags. And while you're there, you might even ask them if they've got any lost and found items that are unclaimed that they would sell you, because that's another way to source. So what I'm getting at is, if you keep your head on a swivel and you listen for opportunities, when your neighbors talk about downsizing, or someone mentions their mother needs to be moved into assisted living, or your grandkid is getting ready to move out to college, downsizing can play a good role. When our daughter went off to college, oh, let's see, what would that have been, Rose? 97 when Brandy left for college. I was already working part-time for an auction. So throughout the summer, we just kept an eye on lots that held things that Rose figured the kid could use in her first college freshman dorm. So some dishes, linen, that type of thing. And there's really not much difference if you get it and you clean it up. Did you ever borrow a pair of jeans from your cousin, or swipe one of your sister's dresses from her closet? Well, those were used items. As soon as an item comes out of the store, out of a retail store, and gets worn once, it's used. We've used pre-owned material most of our lives, and you probably have too. When you first started out, you probably bought a used car. You may live in a house that you didn't build. That's a used house. The appliances in that house, somebody used them before you. But for some reason, the idea of buying someone else's was a bit strange. But that's changed. It's become acceptable. You look at your average Goodwill, it doesn't look all that much different than a Target store, depending on where you live. Yeah, the generation that followed us, and certainly the one that followed them, they have no problem at all with sharing clothes, swapping them around, putting them up on Facebook, putting them up Poshmark, places like that. So it's become a very acceptable way to retail secondhand goods. And if you're going to be a part of it, keep your eyes peeled, your ears open for a place to source, especially in bulk. The only thing different between buying individual items at a thrift store and buying someone's entire collection, or clearing a barn when a gentleman moves into assisted living at the end of his productive life, and that's not to say seniors in assisted living can't be productive. Rose intends to put me there pretty soon. But yeah, she's given me the eye. You know the one if you've been married for any length of time. It's all about volume and having the capacity to store it and process it, and having deep enough pockets to take advantage of it. So even if you're not getting your packing materials recycled and you're going out and buying them new, price check. Just because someone has it and they say they're running a special, check the quality. A big scandal a year or so ago about bubble wrap, about the rolls being short, and about how poor the quality was on the tear-off seams. And a couple of YouTube content creators did very thorough studies, which you can find those by searching on YouTube. But they found out most places were shorting you anyway. So just because they claimed their price per square foot was cheaper, in the end it really wasn't. But there is definitely a difference in quality as you shop for packing materials. So that's about it for tonight. I'm going to finish my mics here. I ended up with the hard black cherry one. And we'll talk some more later. This is Reselling in Retirement, and I'm Brian.